Hey, what's going on, everyone? I just wanted to come on and do a short stream in the aftermath of last Saturday's epic weekend. Let me make sure I am broadcasting to YouTube. If somebody comes through tonight and wants to come up and say some words about all of the happenings of the previous weekend and everything in the aftermath of the last weekend, I will drop the link in case anyone wants to come up. If not, I'm going to make a few points and then I will wrap the stream up. So let me make sure I'm broadcasting. Yep, there is the red icon. Okay, yep, there's my stream is live. All right, I'm going to play the Ohio State edition of the yellow and blue once again, and then I'm going to jump in. And again, if someone comes through and wants to give some thoughts on last weekend or the Michigan upcoming bowl game or the movement in our coaching staff, then I will drop the link and allow folks to come up and say something. Let me just okay. I'm just waiting for to see myself on the YouTube side. Waiting and waiting. All right, there's me. All right, I'm gonna play the intro and then I will jump in. All right. The yellow and blue, the Ohio State edition once again. All right, everyone. Welcome back to Big Discussions 76 Sports. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar. If you've been here before, well, you know who I am. I am a proud Michigan alum, and I am a fan of our Michigan sports. Whether or not they are in the college football playoff or whether or not they are going to a bowl game, which Team 145 it seems we'll be doing this month, though we are waiting to see which bowl game they are going to go to. Please smash that like button if you haven't. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you are not subscribed. So I just wanted to give some follow-up reaction to last weekend's epic climax. That's the best way I could describe it. I was in upstate New York and I was driving back early in the week and I had a chance to watch all of the coverage. And, you know, as everything was unfolding in the aftermath of the game, Michigan's epic 13-10 victory over the world famous Ohio State Buckeyes. Shout out to Gus Johnson. Yeah, it was just like Ryan Day. It wasn't registering as I was watching all of it. I was watching the game at Buffalo Wild Wings in a suburb of Buffalo called Tonawanda. And so I couldn't hear all of Gus Johnson's commentary. Apparently, he pissed off a lot of people, a lot of our fans. and I couldn't, as I was still in disbelief that we had won the game, and as I was watching the fight on the screen, it was all just kind of like Ryan Day. I was just processing it all, and then seeing the two Michigan players going like this, it didn't dawn on me that those players were maced by the Ohio State, or the state of Ohio's law enforcement. So it was all very epic. And then, as I watched the playback of everything, it was surreal and funny seeing the Michigan players bring the flags to the center of the stadium, the center of the field, and then just seeing the Ohio State players immediately see that the Michigan players were bringing the flag and just running to meet them. It was like something off of Game of Thrones. And just seeing Ryan Day in stunned disbelief of the entire thing, it was all surreal. And I can only imagine. I saw his post-game press conference, and he was saying, well, it's all sinking in, it's all processing. But yeah, you have this team that you spent, or should I say your NIL has spent all this money on. You bring in this new quarterback, you have this stud freshman wide receiver, and this veteran, this veteran defense. And so he's processing the loss, but you got players on the field praying after the game, and you got whole melees breaking out between both sides. It was just surreal to watch. So I can only imagine what it was like for Ryan Day. As a Michigan fan, certainly I was happy to get the victory, and it was just it was a momentous and a historic day. And you know what? In the aftermath of that game, please let me know who all is here. Let me know if you have any reaction to what I'm saying. I'll drop the link if anybody wants to come up. I have a few points to make. There was a key firing in our coaching staff this week. But I was disappointed in the aftermath of the game that I did not play any of my drops on Saturday. I think this one would have been a fun one to play in the aftermath of the game.
This is a tough team right here. We're proud to be from Ohio, and it's always been Ohio against the world, and it'll continue to be Ohio against the world. But I'll tell you what, I love those kids, and we got a tough team.
Yeah, so one of the things, and this isn't anything anyone hasn't talked about before, but I think one of the great mysteries of that game, and one of the head scratchers of the game, was the game plan by Ryan Day and Chip Kelly. And he's here, our resident super fan and Ohio State fan and Colorado fan, Mr. Abdul Gaines. Abdul Gaines, we're gonna well, let me acknowledge Tallis Howard first. I think I pronounced that correctly. Oh, he's a Steeler guy. I'm a Buffalo Bill guy. You can see that back there. Abdul Gaines is a Buffalo Bills guy as well, but he's also a Laker guy and an Ohio State guy and a Colorado Buffaloes guy. He says the Wolverines beat Ohio State, and they need to go on and fire their offensive coordinator. And they go on to fire their offensive coordinator. The Bucs should be embarrassed. Yeah, so let's hear another word from one Ryan Day, since Abdul Gaines has showed up.
This is a tough team right here. We're proud to be from Ohio, and it's always been Ohio against the world, and it'll continue to be Ohio against the world. But I'll tell you what, I love those kids, and we got a tough team.
So I was happy to get the victory on Saturday, but I'm a nice guy, so I do feel some sympathy for Ryan. And I mean, even though he did say he was going to hang 100 on us a couple of years ago, just you have a whole fan base. You have a whole. Oh, geez, this might be a good night to reboot. Give me a second, everybody. Okay, this might be a good night to reboot. But you have a whole stadium of fans like this guy right here, and to lose the game for the fourth straight year to a lesser team, I do feel a bit of sympathy for Ryan and what all him and his family, and just the humiliation of that whole thing. But certainly in the aftermath of the game, and I was sitting and watching the game, and I could hear some of Joel Klatt's commentary. You were waiting. I think a lot of us were waiting for Ohio State to blow the game open with Jeremiah Smith. I believe that's his name. Emeka Egbuka and the Carnell Tate kid. They had explosiveness on the outside. I think all of us were waiting for Ohio State to blow the top off and to win the game by 21 points, like they were predicted to win it. But Ryan Day and Chip Kelly, they kept handing the ball off, and they kept trying to assert themselves at the line of scrimmage, even with their hurt offensive line, and even with the strength of our defense being those two NFL-bound tackles. Abdul Gaines says, Ryan Day is a disgrace to all of us who proudly wear beards. I don't understand why he hasn't been fired yet. And then Tallis says, from Flint, Michigan, who lived in Columbus, Ohio for over 30 years, I'm used to the tears of OSU. Well, I mean, certainly individuals like Lou Holtz were in Ryan Day's head leading up to that game. And so I think, I forgot to play this on Saturday, but I think it's good for us to hear a word from Lou Holtz.
He has lost to Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, Michigan twice, and everybody that beats him does so because they're more physical than Ohio State. And I think Notre Dame will take that same approach.
Leading up to the game, even though he had the stronger team, the better team, the more explosiveness outside, were comments like those from Lou Holtz, were those in Ryan Day's head leading up to the game and during the game that compelled him and Chip Kelly to call those plays, those run plays, and to not throw the ball outside to Jeremiah and Emeka Egbuka and Carnell Tate? Were those comments in his head? Abdul, you let me know. Tallis, let me know what you think. It was very, very curious, very, very interesting. But that cost them the game, and Michigan was able to hang in there long enough to get the 13 points, and that this will probably be one of the biggest not only college football upsets of all time, but also one of the big sports upsets of all time. So I just wanted to give some follow-up reaction to that. Yeah, watching the fight, watching Jack Sawyer, watching Jack Sawyer's meltdown all week, and then driving back to the DC area from Buffalo. It was just, it was epic. People are still on X tweeting about that and tweeting about that game. And okay, Snowman. You feel like talking a little bit? Say yay or nay. While Snowman answers, and speaking of X, okay, hold on, Snowman. I'm gonna make some points, then I'll bring you up and hand you the mic. Even on X, even Davis Warren now, even lowly, happy feet, turnover-prone Davis Warren is now looked at as a Michigan legend and a hero because they won the game. And, going into the game, my position was that if Davis could protect the ball and make some throws, then Michigan could win the game. Now, he did turn the ball over twice. One right there in the end zone. That would have put the game away. That was some very curious play calling. You have the ball at the goal line, and on the first play, I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to, Kurt Campbell and Sharon, whoever called that play, they were trying to trick the Ohio State defense. They said, okay, well, Ohio State, they're expecting us to pound the ball in the end zone, which is what I would have done. But they said, we'll trick them with a toss, a pass to the tight end, which would have worked if Davis had floated the ball a little bit higher over Jack Sawyer. Okay. But that was one of Davis's flaws, is that he didn't always have a lot of touch on the ball that a more skilled quarterback would have. And I think we're going to get that with Bryce, and maybe Jaden Davis has that. So there was that. Where was I going with that one? Yeah, Davis is being looked at as a hero right now. He did turn the ball over twice, and it's a miracle that we won the game, but he's looked at as a hero. I guess anytime you beat Ohio State, you are a hero. Okay, so the offensive play calling, a big announcement from this week. I'm going to share this, and then I'm going to bring Snowman up and hand him the mic. Michigan actually did it. They pulled the trigger, and they fired Kurt Campbell. I think a lot of us were people were clamoring for this year. Certainly, Team 145. If it just had competent offense all season long, Team 145 would be contending for one of the playoff spots. But that's assuming you have at least an offense that can move the ball with some consistency, throughout the games and throughout the schedule. And it turns out Kirk was also the quarterback coach. So he was the one who had his hands right on all the quarterbacks, whether it was Davis Warren or Alex Orji or Jack Tuttle or Jaden Denegal or Jaden Davis. He had his hands on those guys. So he's out, and I think you don't want him here when Bryce Underwood comes in. Yeah, I think any residual anything residual from the ineptitude that we saw this year, you want that gone, and you want a nice fresh start with a quality offensive coordinator who's creative, who understands the talent that he has. And we have a generational quarterback coming in. Well, should I say generational? A kid you can build the entire program around and contend for the national title. So you want him out. They got him out. Now, these are some names. Some folks I talked to said, let's get Loxley in here from Maryland, but he's the head coach at Maryland. Maybe not after this season, as you know, they're still not in the upper echelon of the Big Ten. But these are some names that have emerged already to replace one Kurt Campbell. Let me scroll up. So there's Joe Sloan. He's the offensive coordinator at LSU. All right. Let's see. There's Tyson Helton, who is the head coach at Western Kentucky. There's Joe Moorhead, who's the head coach at Akron. And then finally, Brennan Marion, who's the offensive coordinator at UNLV. Okay, so those are four names that have emerged already to replace Kurt Campbell. Though, hey, Sharon, the head coach is more of a CEO, okay, and he has to manage multiple things. But Sharon was a quality coordinator under Harbaugh, so I wouldn't mind Sharon taking the play calling back over. Okay, I mean, it would be a lot for him to do, but Sharon called pretty good plays last year with the talent that he had. He had a loaded veteran roster. Anyway, Talis, thank you for. Okay, so he says, I would love to have Byron Leftwich as the next offensive coordinator. Okay. Let's see. Underst. I don't know who that is. And he says Bryce likes Sloan. Yeah, Bryce was supposed to go to LSU before he flipped and decided to come to Ann Arbor. Okay, Snowman, I want to drop the link. The other big news this week is Ward Manuel got extended. So Ward isn't going anywhere. Okay. And then I think, right now we're waiting to see who Michigan is going to play in the bowl game. And yeah, and then this is conference championship weekend. So thanks to Michigan, Penn State is in the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis. And I think they're gonna seed the teams shortly afterwards. I don't think Ohio State's getting a bye. You know what, Abdul? That's the other intriguing thing. That's the other intriguing thing is that you guys are in the playoff. So how do you fire your head coach right now going into the playoff? How do you fire your offensive coordinator right now when you still have the chance to win the Natty? Okay, that's the other thing that's intriguing about this. I think Ryan can save his job, assuming he wants to stay, if he can win the Natty. That's a big if, but it's an amazing set of circumstances that the Ohio State head coach, the fan base, and that entire program finds itself in right now. Everybody, let's welcome the Snowman. What's going on, Snowman?
How are you, sir? Thanks for having me tonight. I appreciate it.
No problem. Well, I know you were covering the entire weekend. It was an epic weekend last weekend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was.
What did you think about the Michigan-Ohio State game?
I'd like to begin with a declarative statement. Ohio State is cooked.
Okay.
They are done for. Ryan Day is 1-4 against Michigan. The late, great Woody Hayes says, it doesn't matter what you do the rest of the season. It's a lost season if you don't beat Michigan. I've covered the game for almost 30 years, whether I was writing for it, or I was doing analysis for it, audio or video analysis for it. Man, Ohio State finds themselves in a pickle. They find themselves in a pickle because the only way I believe Ryan Day saves his job is if they find themselves in the playoff. That ain't happening. Thanks to your Wolverines, the defending national champion Wolverines, not only did they deliver a sucker punch to Ohio State, they also delivered the knockout punch.
So, Snowman, you don't think they're going to be one of the top 12 teams?
Hell no. Nope.
Okay, because from what I'm hearing, they're still going to be in the field, but maybe I'm hearing wrong.
Well, they're in as of right now. Next Sunday, we'll tell the story after Penn State gets boat raced by Oregon. Because there's no way Penn State is going to keep up with that high-flying Oregon offense. Oregon was supposed to suffer in the Big Ten. Oregon's supposed to be slowed down in the Big Ten. Ha! Wrong. 39 points a game tells a different story. And the only game where Oregon struggled, oddly enough, was Wisconsin. Actually, two. Ohio State, and they beat Ohio State at the Horn. Ohio State beat themselves. And the only other game where they did not get 30 points in the game was Wisconsin. And they beat them at their own game, running the football. I think Ohio State is in serious trouble.
Hey, Snowman, in all of your years watching sports, have you ever seen a team go away from its strength when trying to beat an opponent?
Yep. Many times over.
Okay.
I'm from Chicago. How many times have we seen Mike Ditka go away from Walter Payton after their Super Bowl year? How many times have we seen run-heavy teams, Seattle Seahawks, go away from what they do best? That would be like telling Chip Kelly in his Oregon days, even though he did have running backs in his stable, to like go away from the hyper spread offense. Dan Lanning just made it better. All right. But Ohio State is cooked. All right. Penn State took Ohio State, if you think about it, had a spot in not only the playoff, but the Big Ten championship, more importantly, right on their doorstep. They had it right on their doorstep. All they had to do was one thing: beat Michigan. And they blew it because Ohio State didn't do what they did best: run the football.
Wait a minute. You said Ohio State didn't do what they do best, or what Michigan does best? Because the observation is they should have been throwing that ball out to their wideouts more.
Yep. But either way, Ohio State had, note the capitalized word in the middle of my sentence, had a complete offense. They could run the ball and they can throw the ball. Michigan stepped up big time in their secondary and made sure Jeremiah Smith didn't go completely off. They made sure that Emeka Egbuka didn't go off. They kept their receivers in check. So what do? You force Ohio State to become one-dimensional. But you would think that dimension would lead them somewhere. Michigan stepped up there too and stopped Ohio State from using the dimension that, save for Oregon, killed teams in the Big Ten. That's their running game.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What was your reaction to the did you hear the telecast? I heard Gus Johnson. What did Gus Johnson say? Did you hear it? I was at the sports bar, so I didn't hear it.
I didn't hear the end of it, but I did listen to I was flipping between his television cast and the Michigan and Ohio State radio calls while I was flying around the house here.
Okay. I mean, I know he's the one who calls them the world famous Ohio State Buckeyes, so he's got a love affair with them. Mm-hmm. But he must have said something really, really biased in his coverage to get the backlash that he's gotten.
Oh yeah, well, it's Gus Johnson. Gus Johnson calls it like he sees it. All right, and if that's the case, for him to get the backlash that he got, let me pose you this: why didn't Keith Jackson get the same backlash? The late great Keith Jackson didn't get the same backlash for his affinity and his love affair with Michigan.
Mm-hmm. What would you think about the fight afterwards? Players getting maced. Ryan Day standing there like he's seen a ghost.
He has seen a ghost. His name is Bo Schembechler. Ohio State showed more fight in the post game than they did during the 60 minutes where they should have showed the fight, but they didn't. They got kicked in the rear end, and I'm here for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They had a rematch. I'll say it again. They had a rematch with Oregon in their back pocket for 4 weeks. All they had to do was beat Michigan. They beat the hell out of Indiana and held Curtis Rourke to under 100 yards passing. Okay? The leader in the Big Ten in passing, you held him to 59 yards passing. All they had to do was beat Michigan at the Horseshoe in front of 102,000 people, and they got shut up.
Yeah, I think the thought was that's what they would do. That's what they did to Indiana, they would do to us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because when I went to the sports bar on Saturday, I remember walking in thinking, okay, I don't have any expectations for this. Okay, I don't expect my team to win.
Fair.
I just want my team to keep it close.
Fair.
And then, yeah, as we got into halftime and we got to the third quarter, I started getting those sweaty palms when you can feel like your team is in it and they're going to win. And then I started to feel my heart beating. And anyway, okay. So Snowman, where do you sit in terms of fire? Would you fire your coach at this point?
Bye.
Oh, that was easy.
You can't beat Michigan. See you later. Earl Bruce, anyone? John Cooper, anyone? You can't beat your biggest rival. And that's how your football team is defined each and every year. See ya. You're out. Next.
Okay. You know what? It's funny because the talk right now is the talk we were having over the last 10 years with Harbaugh. Because Harbaugh, until 2021, he went 0 for 6 against Ohio State. And so then there were so many questions about, well, he can't beat Ohio State. Well, who are we going to get if we get rid of him? He's the best we've got. We need to stick it out. So the whole thing just kind of reversed. So to where But the other thing, did you see the cartoon?
I did not.
I guess they did it when Urban Meyer stepped down. Urban's sitting there playing a game, and then Ryan Day asks him, "Okay, is it good?" He said, "Yeah." And he hands him the joystick or the control pad. He starts playing, and then it cuts to a bus. I guess it's from Grand Theft Auto, but it cuts to a bus going over a cliff and just tumbling to its death because I guess there was something to that in terms of he was handed something, and he hasn't been able to maintain it,
and he blew it. And he's the Ohio State football program. Whenever it comes to Michigan, they've imploded. 88 through 91 was the last time Michigan won 4 in a row against the Buckeyes. 88 through 91. They're repeating that now. And this is kind of a downtrodden Michigan team, but they have they still are the defending national champions. Of course, that will change January 20th, but at this point, they're still the defending national champions. All right. But Ohio State's offense did it to themselves. Their defense showed a lot of fight, but by the time the fourth quarter came around, they were worn out. Ohio State thought that, okay, we can just throw the ball all over the field and Michigan's not going to step up and do anything. Wrong. Ryan Day needs to go. Period.
Okay. All right. Well, so Michigan's going to a bowl game. Well, good. So, man, what was your reaction to the rest of the action last week? I'm not hearing Abdul. I'm sorry. I'm not hearing Colorado being one of the top 12 teams.
They're not. Who is Colorado beating? I'm looking. Who is Colorado beating? When you lose to a team like Kansas, who has had a horrible season, and you allow Kansas to hang 519 yards on you, and you were supposed to have one of the best offenses in the Big 12, and you couldn't keep up, Colorado only had half that total. Let me pose a question, and I will say this until the cows come home, until I see different. Who's Colorado beating? You should have known how Colorado's season was going to go when they got smacked by Nebraska. Well, you should have known how Colorado's season was going to go when they played 5 points to North Dakota State. Were it not for 2 missed opportunities in that game, Colorado would have gone 0-1, would have started 0-1. They're 0 for the state of Kansas. They got blown out by Kansas, and they lost to Kansas State. It took a miracle for them to beat Baylor. A miracle. That should tell you how inconsistent Colorado's offense is. That should tell you how inadequate sometimes Colorado's offense is. It's a basic case of feast or famine. They play a team below them, they feast. They play a team above them, you know the rest.
Okay. All right. Do you have any thoughts on any of the other games? I'm going to pull up the current CFP rankings right now.
Georgia and Texas will play overtime. Texas gets another shot at an SEC mainstay. Because since Georgia beat Texas 30-15 in Austin, Texas has been getting their act together. But now they face Georgia in their own backyard. That's going to be a problem.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like Notre Dame has also snuck its way back into the
Notre Dame is the 5th seed no matter what. For the simplest of reasons, they'll get to host a playoff game. They just won't get one of the top 4 seeds because they're not in a conference. And because they're not in a conference, they have to play a first-round game. They have to play what we would call a wild card game.
Okay. So this is your top 12 right now. Oregon, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Georgia, the world famous Ohio State Buckeyes.
How they're
Tennessee.
I don't know.
Say what?
How Ohio State is still in it, I don't know.
Well, Snowman, the week before they played us, they were still picked as the favorite to win it all.
No, not by me. I didn't pick him as a favorite. Ohio State got too many holes to fill.
Okay, so number 7 Tennessee is in the top 12. SMU, Indiana, Boise State, Alabama, and the U. One of the pundits said that because I think one of the group of 5 champion is going to get an automatic bid.
Yep.
So one of these guys toward the bottom is going to get bounced out. By virtue of that.
And Boise State's going to do the deed and surprise everybody. Remember 2010? Remember 2000? I think it was 2010. 2010 when they wound up in the Fiesta Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Remember when they put? Listen, Boise State had no business in 2010 being a part of what back then would have been the playoff. They had no business playing TCU in Phoenix, Arizona. Guess what? They played TCU in Phoenix, Arizona. Everybody's thinking Ashton Genty and the Boise State Broncos, and there's a reason I brought that name up. And the Boise, and the Boise State Broncos will fall tomorrow. Man, please. They're going to hang 50 on UNLV and seal their spot in the playoff as the Mountain West Conference champion.
Okay. And your prediction is that Ohio State's going to fall out of
Ohio State is cooked. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll happily say I'm wrong. But I think Ohio State's cooked.
Okay. All right. So that's Hey, I'm excited to watch this thing.
I can't wait. Game of the day is the SEC championship. Georgia and Texas. All eyes are going to be on Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. And I have a wild card for you.
What's that?
That could jump in the playoff standings.
Who's that?
The SMU Mustangs.
Okay. They're right here. They're already in.
And Clemson.
They're number 8.
Yep. And they're going to stay there. In fact, they may go up. I'm going to call them the boat race Clemson. Because if Clemson has a problem this year and South Carolina proved it, they can't stop the run.
Okay. Looks like Abdul Gaines is here agreeing with you. He says Ohio State is in trouble, but they are still in the playoff for whatever it's worth.
Brand recognition takes care of that.
Right. So aren't they considering putting some teams in just because of what you just described, brand recognition and their fans traveling to see the game?
Hello, Alabama. Hello, Ohio State.
Yeah, I heard that they're gonna because of Alabama's brand recognition, they're gonna try really hard to put them in the top 12.
Mm-hmm. Even with 3 losses, they're going to try to put them in. The whole world, I can tell you right now, and my buddy Chris Dietz and I talked about this. The whole world right now is begging. Well, I should say the whole world right now is going to be watching Georgia and Texas at 4:00 on Saturday, because it's a basic case with that game of 4 words: win and you're in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be winning you're in at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and Texas has got to beat Georgia in their backyard. They got to beat them in Georgia's backyard.
Now they played once already this season, right? If I recall correctly,
Georgia stomped them 30-15.
Okay. And how about this? The resurrection of SMU. Abdul Gaines says, as a DFW resident, I love for SMU to smash Clemson.
Well, Abdul's going to love what I'm going to say next, because I predict that SMU will hang 500 yards on Dabo Swinney.
Okay.
I think SMU, and I've watched SMU all season just wreck shop in the ACC. You know, kind of lends a little credence for them to bring back the Southwest Conference. Though I'm old and I'm old school, that won't happen, and I realize that. It lends a lot of credence to it. SMU is about to win a conference title. SMU is about to win a conference championship game against all the odds and against Clemson. Clemson is the last hope for the Atlantic Coast Conference. If SMU does what I think they're going to do and gallops all over them to the tune of 500 yards and 50 points, the ACC, according to those in the South, is forever ruined by a bunch of horses.
So Snowman, you were there when they got the death penalty years ago.
I most certainly was.
Okay, do you have any memories of that?
Eric Dickerson and Craig James. Pony Express.
The Pony Express.
And now there's going to be a new Pony Express. Let's take a look at it from the financial and the recruiting standpoint. If SMU wins the ACC title in Charlotte, North Carolina, that entire hotbed is theirs to raid. That entire belt, including Texas, including Dallas, Fort Worth, where Abdul is theirs to raid. That's a refrigerator waiting to be raided. We're talking about recruiting. We're talking about students. We're talking about boosters, the whole damn thing. And they can do it, and they can do it legally now, because there's all the schools, have their boosters and everything. But if SMU wins the Atlantic Coast Conference title, they're a kid in a candy store. They won the American Conference title last year, and they'll win the ACC this year, back-to-back conference titles for the SMU Mustangs. So they're sneaking down. Last year's conference title in the American Conference title was them sneaking downstairs and sneaking into the refrigerator and snatching some of the goodies before the parents woke up. And I mean that in terms of the recruits, in terms of the students, and in terms of the money. They win the ACC Saturday night. Oh, it's all like a pot of neck bones. They're not gonna sneak downstairs and raid the refrigerator. They're gonna turn all the lights on in the house. They're gonna march down to the refrigerator, kick it open, and raid any recruit that they want in that whole belt. Because remember, they're playing the ACC championship in North Carolina. They're playing the ACC championship basically on Tobacco Road. You know how many students could flip from Wake Forest, NC State, Duke, and Carolina and follow SMU right to Dallas, Texas?
And the South Carolina schools too.
Exactamundo. This is a huge, huge game. And it's a spotlight game for SMU. It's a spotlight game for SMU. They haven't had a spotlight game since they used to play at Texas Stadium. Think about it. Even the conference championship last year was kind of under the radar. But what they don't realize that while SMU was winning the conference championship under the radar, as I used the metaphor a few moments ago, they're sneaking into the refrigerator, swiping the goodies, swiping the recruits. Now they win it this year on ABC in Charlotte, North Carolina. That bad boy gets kicked wide open. Because now they have a chance to really build a program and do it recruiting and not use the transfer portal like Deion Sanders tried to do and use a cheat sheet. Nope. SMU said, we're doing this naturally. Think of how long it took for them to bounce back from the death penalty to last year's conference championship to now. Very few people picked SMU to not only run the conference, but run roughshod. I mean, hell, I think there was only one game where they didn't get 400 yards of offense. They're going to get 500 Saturday night.
All right. The resurrection of SMU. Abdul Gain says if SMU wins against Clemson, it would be back-to-back conference titles for the Mustangs. They won the American Conference title last year. The SMU death penalty was a signature event of my youth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't start really following football until the Bills got good in the late 80s. So that all just kind of. Before I'm gonna hang on for about 13 more minutes, Snowman. So you said it doesn't sound like you're a believer in Coach Prime.
Not yet.
Or he just needs more time. Because he's going to lose Shador. He's going to lose Travis. But go ahead.
Yep. You got to replace those two big positions. And here's the other problem I have with Coach Prime. Here, I know Abdul's going. I know a lot of people. Okay, Abdul. Riddle me this. Shador is an athlete, but he's not a quarterback. Travis Hunter is an athlete, but he doesn't know which side he wants to play. Here's my riddle. If Shador is such a great quarterback like mostly everyone makes him out to be, why is he taking 94 sacks in 2 years? That's easy. Because Coach Sanders has not fixed the two problems that they've had the 2 years he was there. The offensive line and the defensive line. You know, one of the cleanest quarterbacks playing this weekend, and I'm talking about not being sacked that much.
Who's that?
Dillon Gabriel. Because if you go back to the Ohio State-Oregon game, what's the one thing Ohio State could not do to Dillon Gabriel? Bring him down.
Well, he shredded us too. Yeah, he can run in, he can throw.
That's the point I'm making. From UCF to Oklahoma, now to Oregon. What's the one thing that defenses have not been able to do to Dillon Gabriel this year? Bring him down.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, Snowman. Yeah. Okay. So we have an exciting weekend of football coming up, and then the playoff is going to start in a couple weeks. And so, yeah, thanks for coming up and lending your expertise.
Not a problem. I'll give you another wild card for the playoff. Arizona State.
Arizona State?
It's a wild card right now, but they have to win Saturday.
Now, what's impressing you about Arizona State?
They run the football. That's easy. They run the football. If you want an example of what Arizona State can do to a defense that's primed to try to stop them, I reference the game against Brigham Young in Tempe, Arizona. Right now, Arizona State's a wild card. Boise State is a wild card, and Boise State has a chance to seal a top 4 seed, which means they get a week off.
Wow.
Because right now, the top 4 are Georgia, Oregon, Texas, and Boise State. Even if Texas goes down against Georgia, think of how the pollsters are going to think. First year in the SEC, they're playing for a top 4 seed. The pollster just might keep them there. But a team that could leapfrog them and snatch a bye is Tennessee. Because think about it. They reward some teams for not playing, as my buddy Chris Dietz says. They reward some teams for not playing, and they punish some teams for playing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a popularity contest, man. It's a popularity contest. Some teams get rewarded for not playing. Some teams get punished for playing. I offer the case of USC and Ohio State a few years ago. USC gets rocked by Utah, and they're out of the playoff. Meanwhile, Ohio State sits at home. They don't participate in the Big Ten Conference Championship game, and they get in the playoff. Somebody want to explain that one?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, Snowman, do you have any parting words? You watching the NFL game tonight?
No, actually, because I got to get ready for a meeting at 9 because I'm testing a few things, and then there's a couple of big games a couple of big basketball games I'm getting ready for this weekend. But I say go Lions.
All right. Well,
Put the Packers out of their misery.
Hey, how about a Lions Bills Super Bowl?
I'd love to see it, but I have 2 problems.
What's that?
Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
To be the champs,
We got to beat them.
Unseat the champs
in January.
Yep, and you got to do it in their house.
Okay.
The Bills will have to make. I think the Bills will have to make a trip to Kansas City. If they come to Buffalo, then the Bills have learned all their lessons from last year when Kansas City smacked them in the mouth, and Tyler Bass missed a field goal. I think they can take him. But I'll say it again. To be the champs, you must unseat the champs. And as far as I'm concerned, Kansas City's the champs.
Yeah. All right. Should I slip this one in here? I think Abdul is still watching. All right. Quickly, Snowman. When is LeBron going to retire?
He should have been gone. Look, let me use that
coming off.
While I'm hating, and I've been called a hater for many, many years because of my disdain for LeBron James. I can name so many forwards that played a better fundamentally sound forward than LeBron James does or did. But you know the one name, just to grate their nerves. I don't use the Hall of Fame names. That's too easy of an argument to make. You know the one name I throw at these bronze sexuals all the time? Because I think this fellow played a better fundamentally sound forward than LeBron James did. Look up the name Tom Chambers. We're banned.
We're banned from talking about this right now.
Look, we're not talking about Laker basketball. We're talking about when LeBron James is going to get the hell out of there. Get it right, Abdul.
That's his team, you know.
Oh, I know. And they're hostage. They're being held hostage. We'll discuss that at a later time.
All right. Right, Abdul. We have a whole 7 months to talk about Lakers. So we're going to come back to the Lakers. All right, Snowman, do you have anything else?
This is going to be a fun playoff, folks. This is going to be fun, and I'm here for it.
All right. Thanks for coming up. I'll talk to you offline.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
All right. All right, everyone. I just want to come up and just do a stream after the Saturday's historic game, and we're waiting for the bowl game, and we're on the eve of the 12-team college football playoffs. So a lot of exciting things are happening. Kirk Campbell got fired, so we're going to get a new offensive coordinator to coach up our new 5-star quarterback, Bryce Underwood. So we're not in the dance this year, but we just beat Ohio State. We've got a stud quarterback coming in. We've got a new offensive coordinator coming in. And yeah, the future looks bright for the Maize and Blue. So yeah, I'll be creating more content as the playoff picture comes together, once we find out who our bowl opponent is going to be. And let me see if I can get Johnny Olden to come back. He's a busy guy, but yeah, so you will see me in the next couple of weeks, even though Christmas is fast approaching. So please like, share, and subscribe, especially if you are new. And with that, everyone, I will talk to you the next time. Go Blue. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.